Hi, I'm Cecilia Kambe from Institute of Ocean and Earth Sciences, University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. I'm currently working on biosecurity in seaweed aquaculture industry, focused on biosecurity policy and regulation and farm management. In this video presentation, I will talk about the biosecurity aspect of crop care and farm management of the eucheumatoid seaweed farming. First of all, what is the definition of biosecurity used in this study? According to Food and Agriculture Organization, the definition of biosecurity is a strategic and integrated approach that encompasses the policy and regulatory framework for analyzing and managing relevant risks to human, animal, plant life and health and the environment. So through the definition, concept of biosecurity itself covered food safety, zoonosis, introduction of animal, plant disease and pests, introduction or release living modified organism, and introduction and managing invasive alien species. So based on the definition and cover area of biosecurity, the biosecurity concept in seaweed aquaculture industry translating to managing and analyzing relevant risks in seaweed aquaculture industry, including disease and pest management, maintaining quality of seaweed produce, maintaining the environmental support system, and sustainability of the industry. As importance of the biosecurity concept, it should be integrated in the national policy and regulation of seaweed aquaculture. So why biosecurity concept is necessary apply in eucheumatoid aquaculture industry? There are many challenges in eucheumatoid industry that need to be addressed by biosecurity approach, such as ice syndrome that always occur in eucheumatoid seaweed. Either the syndrome become infected disease or not, but the fact ice still become the main cause of decreasing productivity of farm in many productive area. Widely spread of epiendophyte or known as epiphytic filamentous red algae that can reduce crop quality and lead the thallus to be bleached then disintegrated. Change in seawater environment such as increasing water temperature, wider range of salinity, and lack of water movement. This factor can disturb capability of seaweed to grow and adaptation process. Limited supply of healthy propagule in farm system that make farmer often use unhealthy or infected propagule in their farm continuously. Vegetative propagation that have been practiced for many decades have indicated to cause deterioration of crop resilience. Lack in best farming practices by seaweed farmer was contribute to lack propagule supply and continuity of ice outbreak in farm. Consequently, many productive area have decreased in production. So what have been lacked in eucheumatoid aquaculture industry? Most of eucheumatoid aquaculture industry have run by developing countries that have limited resources and prioritize to boost production without incorporated in managing farm risk posed by disease and pest. That national goal makes the policy and regulation have lacked disseminated with disease management and also precaution strategy. To improve the industry with biosecurity concept is helping the seaweed aquaculture to be more sustainable system. So what biosecurity aspect will cover in this presentation? First, This presentation will cover on-farm biosecurity, include assessing biosecurity measure practices by seaweed farmer, and this study was tried to highlight the knowledge gap of farmer in implementing biosecurity in practice. This presentation also includes observation of applying biosecurity measure in small scale of seaweed farm to provide evidence-based study. The assessment of biosecurity measure in practice was done by a survey to 67 seaweed farmers in 3 productive areas in Malaysia, which in Sampurna, Kunak, and Tawau during June, July, and November 2019. The aims of this study were identify farmers' knowledge, attitude, practice toward biosecurity aspect in farm system, and highlighted the knowledge gap. The knowledge, attitude, and practice or KAP method was used to evaluate farmers in managing their farm, growing their seaweed crop, and minimizing disease and pest outbreak in their farm. The question of farmer knowledge include: are they know disease, pest, and other farm risks in their farm? Are they understand the introduction of disease and pest in farm? The question in farmers' attitude and practices including external biosecurity practice, internal biosecurity practice, and general farm control. The external biosecurity practices covering farm equipment preparation and environment preparation. The internal biosecurity practices covering crop management such as isolation and quarantine if the propagule came from different area or have infected by pest. Use unbleached and or uninfected propagule and no treating crop with other chemical and so on. General biosecurity control including farm, crop, and equipment control. For example, share infected crop, share equipment without disinfect or proper clean, and so on. Assessment results show that 63% of farmers know disease and pests and other farm risks in their farm, but only 46% of farmers understand of the introduction of disease and pests in farm. Farmer internal biosecurity has indicated poor in practices, particular on quarantine and isolation of seaweed crop and use healthy crop in farm, although their attitude show they consider to apply these practices in their farm. General biosecurity control show similar in pattern, which is poor practicing among farmers. The study found that farmers in Sampurna and Kunak have poor biosecurity practices. General KAP results show that most eucheumatoid farmers in productive area do not know the introduction of disease and pests in their farm, but they notice that ice syndrome become one of the farm risks that can reduce production capacity, which is similar found of farmer in Philippines. Most farmers have rarely or never done adequate crop management in internal biosecurity practices. For example, crop quarantine and isolation, use healthy propagule, decreased crop density while disease outbreak, and record the crop loss. These practices make on-farm biosecurity of crop care management were poor. Applying biosecurity measure in farm was conducted by observation in Bumbum Island, Sampurna during period of disease season, which is period June to August 2019. This study aim was to evaluate effectiveness of biosecurity measure in farm with comparing occurrence of ice in Capapicus seaweed that grow in farm with biosecurity and Capapicus species that grow in farm without biosecurity. Treatment between farms shown by this table. For propagule treatment, farm with biosecurity, the propagule health condition was checked for whole period of cultivation, while farm without biosecurity, health check only in beginning stage. For cleaning treatment, farm with biosecurity conducted routine cleaning on seaweed crop and rope using paper tissue and or soft fabric, and also the bleach infected talus were removed. On the other side, no cleaning treatment was made in farm without biosecurity measure. Farm waste were disposed to landfill for farm with biosecurity treatment, while other farm left naturally. Equipment was used new rope for both farm, but only biosecurity farm was done cleaning the rope from pest coverage. These two graphs show that Capapicus malassianus in biosecurity farm has reduction in ice incidence about 60 to 75% during measurement compared to seaweed farm without biosecurity measure, and the ice incident rate is showing by black and white bar in both graphs. The epiendophyte coverage in both farms were increased, followed by increase in cultivation period, because the pest cannot remove easily on seaweed talus. The epiendophyte coverage shown by the red bar in both graphs. Macroalgae epiphyte show decrease significantly in farm with biosecurity, while biofilm was associated with epiendophyte coverage. Based on correlation rate, the ice syndrome in Capapicus malassianus was strong correlated with the epiendophyte identified as Melanotamnus species. In the same time, Capapicus alvarezi in biosecurity farm has decreased in ice incident about 29 to 71% compared to the seaweed grow in other farm. The available of ice in Capapicus alvarezi was found moderate correlation with pest epiendophyte, epiphyte, and biofilm coverage. Capapicus alvarezi was indicated more resistant to disease and pests compared to Capapicus malassianus. Measuring the environment parameter between farm show by this graph that temperature, salinity, inorganic ammonium, and water current have no significant difference between two farms. But the ice syndrome was occur differently in both farms. This study indicated that biosecurity measures have given significant impact on reduction the ice in farm. Seaweed quality in regard to Carrageenan and gel strength found that healthy seaweed with no bleach and no pest coverage in farm with biosecurity have higher in Carrageenan and gel strength compared to healthy seaweed with no bleach but coverage with epiendophyte in farm with biosecurity, although only gel strength shows significant difference statistically. So study result that cleaning treatment is a required process and important to minimize farm risk related to ice syndrome and pest outbreak. Isolation process of seaweed propagule in preparation stage is highly recommended to detect early potential pest epiendophyte infestation. Capopicus alvarezi was indicated more resistant to ice syndrome than Capopicus malassianus, but further study are recommended to replicate this study in bigger scale of farm, different seasonal and different type of farm with full biosecurity measured practice. So the conclusion of my presentation: first, biosecurity measure is important for the eucheumatoid farm, but challenging to be implemented to farmers with low awareness to their farm and lack biosecurity knowledge. Second, supporting from the competent authority is needed to keep farmer to do proper biosecurity measure in practices as part of farm management strategy and to encourage their knowledge in disease management. Third, in eucheumatoid aquaculture, it needs adequate standard in farm procedure with fully concern to biosecurity aspect, particular on crop care and farm management practices. This study was part of Global Seaweed Star project led by Scottish Association for Marine Science or SAMS and fully funded by UKRI, KCRF and University of Malaya. I acknowledge our Biosecurity Global Seaweed Star team and the Department of Fisheries Sabah and also the Tropical Pyconomic Coalition Development Committee that inviting me to deliver this presentation. So thank you for listening this video presentation.